Insecurity has become a thorn in the flesh of many Nigerians. Commuting on roads and railways have become dangerous, as many are scared of being attacked by kidnappers and bandits. It has also left many displaced from their homes, and even many farmers have abandoned their fields for fear of bandits. In Zamfara State, more than 15 persons have been killed, including a vigilante leader in separate attacks. An eyewitness who is a member of local vigilante group has said that the armed bandits had targeted the vigilante leader of Damgamji community and shot him alongside other persons. It was really sad. Now, joining us in the studio is a security consultant, Darlington Umoro, to help us make sense of all of these issues and finding a way forward. Darlington, it's good to have you join me this morning.
My pleasure. Always been here. Just that most times I'm here, I'll be discussing the killings of innocent Nigerians. It beats me hollow, and I'm not always. My elements are not always up when it comes to discussing killings, lives being destroyed and wasted. Particularly from the northern part of this country.
That's the dilemma we find ourselves where in the last, say, 11, 12 years, we've been talking about, I recall that you have been on this set, we've been discussing insecurity and the killing and kidnapping and all of that of so many Nigerians over the years. But it's also a good thing, one of the good things there is that through your analysis, you've been also able to enlighten Nigerians, use the opportunity to enlighten Nigerians to be conscious of security and some of the things that go happen around them. And also, some of your advice, security agents who listen have also gotten tips here and there, which is a good thing or a good fallout of such kind of discussion. But let's talk about these issues in Zamfara. Zamfara has been on the news on and off when it comes to insecurity. And you have been to those areas. You understand the terrain and you understand the people. You have been in touch with the people there. But despite all of the promises, assurances by security agents that they are on top of the situation, it doesn't seem to be so when it comes to this preemptive thing where we become proactive instead of being preemptive. What do you make of Zamfara? What's going on again?
First, before I answer your question, you did talk about how many times I've been here, not just here, other electronic media, talking about other television stations and radio stations, how I have often given one advice or the other. The week before the swearing in of Mr. President, talking about His Excellency Bola Tinubu, I was invited severally to different electronic media to set security agenda, supposedly for this government. And one of topmost on that agenda I gave was I talked about welfare for the men. What happens to the family of those who died in active service? How they are chased out of barracks? Talking about their wives and children after a while. How they go into penury and how that affects those of them who are in the theater. That was welfare. Like you rightly said, they listen to us. This administration has started well. I listened, I read through line by line what Mungunu said, quoting Mr. President, the outcome of their meetings. But what interested me the most, in all he said, permit me to read. He said, the president also has decided that whatever ventures the armed forces are going to be engaged in, they must carry along those operatives in the theater. I don't know if you understood that.
Well, I understood it in grammar, but the implication of it, you have to make us understand.
Now you understand it the more. Let me take this next paragraph.
Okay.
They must be well-fed, well-kitted, motivated, and given all that they require. Given, not provide. Given, it meant that whatever you are enjoying out there, those of you in the offices, those of you giving the command, ensure that those men in the sun, in the rain, that's the theater, day, night, who don't sleep, who ensure that you and I, Mike, can sit here to talk about what is happening, are given what will motivate them. If you're not motivated, if you're not passionate about what you are doing, you can't get results. We have seen situations where men in the theater have complained that allowances are not paid on time. They are not well kitted. They don't get the desired motivation from their bosses for them to do the work. Talking about the foot soldiers now. They are the ones doing the job. This was topmost on the agenda I provided for this administration. Differently. And I'm glad. When I read, the most interesting thing to me was this. Not even the equipment. Because the man is the one who is going to handle the equipment. If he's not happy, he will handle that equipment. You will think it's a stick, a piece of stick.
But what are you expecting to see in the coming days now with this order that the president has given, especially with this present crop of leaders?
I've not forgotten your question, Mike. I'll still come back to it. One obvious thing that will happen is that, first, Mr. President has taken the normal step. He's inheriting security chiefs, the NSA, intelligence heads. So they must brief him. There must be an antecedent, official antecedent. They must give him formal briefing about the situation, security situation on ground at the moment. That is the point from which he's taking off. I'm very happy that Mr. President didn't go there not really having an idea of what to do, because now he's telling them. He said they have to rejig. They have to double. Whatever effort you have now, you have to double it. That is his expectation. I was so impressed, but even so, I was not taken aback, because here was a man who was governor of Lagos State and put crime to its barest minimum in Lagos as governor. He already has his own agenda. He already has a program. So he's hitting the ground running. He's not waiting for stories. He's merely telling you, this is what I want. I already know what you were doing. But formality demands that you have to talk to me. But this is what I want. It's a marching order. I was so impressed. It was not a formality. Oh, we visited Mr. President, the chiefs, the heads of intelligence and all of that, and tea, you shared the breakfast. No, it was business. I've been watching you guys. This is what I want now. Now, not yesterday, not tomorrow, now. And this is the way it must go. Here is a president who is not even a security person. But here is a president who knows what security entails. The same thing he did in Chatham House, which many didn't really understand. Here is a man who has actually prepared himself for this position and to serve Nigeria. Back to your question, Mike.
Narrowing it down to
Yeah.
the Zamfara
Yes,
issue.
the Zamfara issue has been on and off and on and off. And Nigerians expect that because the security agents and agencies understand the terrain, they understand the character of the operation of the bandits, yet we still have this recurrence of insecurity in Zamfara state.
I don't know whether to smile or cry. Listening to you, Mike. When you say the security agents, they know the terrain in Zamfara. They know the forest. That is the capital position of bandits in Nigeria. You have forgotten. You did not add that Zamfara is a border state to a porous border where arms moving freely into Nigeria. One of the things I also said for this administration is to checkmate the proliferation of small arms and light weapons. No crime tribes. I'm sounding like a broken record this morning again. No crime tribes without a weapon. Without firearm, a man cannot stop you and say, give me your handset on the road. But if he shows you that small thing, that small metal, like a shotgun, immediately you will submit. Of course, my armory training, armory manager training, I did and own a certificate from, taught me that never underrate the man who points a gun at you. Never assume that the chamber of that gun or the magazine is empty. If an assault rifle is pointed at you even without a magazine, never underrate it, because a bullet may be resting in the chamber, so it does not need that magazine. It is only waiting for the man to pull back the trigger, and he vomits it. The problem of banditry in Zamfara State and some other northwestern region is fueled largely by the inflow of illicit arms and ammunition from our porous borders up north. Down south, you have organized borders. But down north, in some states, the people in the other side of the divide and the people on this other side are like one family. What you find in some border posts is just a crossbar. I'm talking about the legal ones now, not the illegal routes, not even the grazing routes, where the black market thrives. The level of sophistication of weapons that the bandits carry in most times are not the type that the vigilante group can stop. The vigilant group ought to know and understand that their services are merely to assist or augment those of the security agents and the military. Because what the law provides for, the level of arms, firearms they can carry, it's not more than a pump action. They are not even, they cannot even carry an assault rifle.
That's the vigilante groups.
Yes, they can't carry an assault rifle. The best they can carry, as provided by the Arms Act, is a pump action or the chakabula. And so, you are always a target to the bandits because you obstruct their activities, and then sometimes you give them away. Because this vigilant group, in most times, are in the forest as undercovers, monitoring movement and giving information to the right authority. Even so, they become a target for these criminals who would want to take them out, just like they would take out farmers who they would have suspected have given them away, whether they got such information or not. And so what happened in Zamfara State? Zamfara State is basically the headquarters of banditry, going by its beginnings. And if you go into Zamfara State, you see the way it goes. Zamfara, Sokoto, Katsina, Kaduna. These are all part of the Northwest. Okay? And so, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate until we are able to curb illicit movements,
Right.
illicit manufacture by the blacksmith of firearms. You may not be able to contain, you might not be able to contain the activities of bandits in Zamfara State. And that was why I did advise this administration to find a way of checkmating the activities of illicit movement of firearms
And I recall,
across our borders.
I recall that you also said that it's bad enough that we have, porous borders, but even within the states now, there are also local blacksmiths who make equally deadly
Yeah,
weapons,
exactly.
right?
And also one would also imagine that the presence of gold in Zamfara could also compound all of that. It's a very complex situation in Zamfara State. But the point, before you led, now, we've been talking about this, but let's talk about President Bola Tinubu, who has instructed service chiefs and heads of other security and intelligence agencies to deal with anyone involved in oil theft, as he insists that his administration will not tolerate this economic crime. Now, President Buhari said this when he convened the National Security Council meeting to get briefs from service chiefs and outline his plan to reform the security sector. Now, TVC News State House correspondent Femi Akonde has a package on that, has a report on that, and then we come back to discuss this.
The new commander-in-chief of the armed forces meets his service chiefs for the first time after the presidential inauguration. President Bola Tinubu has said security will be the top priority of his administration, and he will reform both the security doctrine and its architecture. This meeting with security chiefs that lasted for about 2 hours is matching words with action.
The president has made it very, very clear that he's determined to build on whatever gains have been made and to reverse misfortunes and turn the tide in our favor. As far as he's concerned, this country should not be on its knees struggling while other countries are walking.
The National Security Advisor says President Tinubu admits he does not have the luxury of time as insecurity continues to ravage some parts of the country, and he has mandated security agencies to come up with a blueprint to reform Nigeria's security architecture.
There must be a clearing house. All agencies must work to achieve one single purpose. Working at cross purposes and colliding with each other is not something that he will condone. He's going to embark on a lot of reforms in terms of our security architecture. He's going to take a closer look at our misfortunes in the maritime domain, focusing particularly on the issues of oil theft. That he is not going to tolerate. Wherever the problem is coming from, it must be crushed as soon as possible.
The Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabo, also disclosed that new directives have been issued on ways to guarantee the security of lives and property. He says his team is inspired and re-energized to execute the orders of President Bola Tinubu.
The security disposition across the country to be. And so we have left Mr. President fired with that mandate and to realign our interventions to fit the expectations, not just of Nigerians, of course, with the mandate that Mr. President has given to us.
President Bola Tinubu has inherited a security situation that has grown from bad to worse, despite the huge government spending on defense. It most times seems as if the emerging security threats overwhelms Nigeria's armed forces and the police. As the new administration sets to work, its performance would likely be judged based on the prevailing security situation in the country. Femi Akonde, TVC News, Abuja.
All right. That gives us a perspective of some of the issues in there. But Darlington, okay, I think I need to get used to this President Tinubu, and all of that. We have been so used in the last 8 years, we've been used to President Buhari and so on. Transiting to a new president now, I guess Nigerians have to forgive me too.
It's normal. We are all guilty of that. With time, we'll get used to it because it's just a number of days.
Of course.
Right. How many days ago? Right. It's just like when you enter a new year. When you are writing, you'll still be writing the
previous
year. The previous year. So it's normal. It's understood.
We'll get used to it.
No, we'll get used to it. So Darlington, please help us, enlighten us in the area of clearinghouse, the concept of clearinghouse in the context of security, the way that the NSA has put it, which the president is saying there has to be a clearinghouse.
Well, there has always been one. It's about synergy. Now, each of the security agency has their own constitutional duties. The military has its, just like the military. In the armed forces, you have the Air Force, you have the Navy, you have the Army. They are all specialized military bodies who are meant to take charge of certain areas. One is aerial, one is water, one is land. Okay, same thing, you have other security agents. Now, all of what you gathered differently are brought to a table. You gave your report, I give my report, and then they are examined and then worked on, and then further instruction goes to any other agency. I give you the instance of what happened when we had somebody who was coming to hit Abuja from the northern part of Africa. Okay? The DSS was proactive. They had a report by him. He was profiled. That report was tabled at the clearinghouse. And then from there, it was handed over. The next phase was given to another agency to say, okay, it's your mandate. This man is coming by road. And the land borders have to be manned. Now talking about the NIS, Immigration Service now, who takes charge of people specifically who go out or come into the country. That of custom is to check the goods, what you are bringing in and what you are taking out. And so at that point, the NIS, I'm just breaking it down finally now. At that point, the NIS is supposed to monitor the borders and then monitor him. By the time he gets to the border, they identify him. He is handed over to another agency now, which is the Nigerian police. By the time he's taken about. If he's followed, if it's a lead and is followed, then the DSS will now be involved again. The police can now be involved. And then perhaps the military will also be on standby because he was assumed a terrorist who was coming to carry out terrorism in Nigeria. Of course, the report of the DSS had provided a lot about him, talking about how many of them will come in, talking about the color of the vehicle he was to come in with, talking about the number plate of that vehicle he was coming with.
So that detail.
everything about him was gotten, and of course, you know the DSS is the secret police, and then was tabled. And then at that point, it's okay, we take this off you now and give to this other agency who will man the borders. That agency, by the time they follow up and it gets to the border, will give report, and the thing, another agency will take over. That is the way it works. But most importantly is synergy. They must all be able to synergize. That's what Mr. President was also hammering on when he talked with the security chiefs. Of course, his administration, his assumption of office was greeted by a quagmire or a hullabaloo between two agencies who were supposed to occupy a building separately, and then one took charge and said, you are not going to come in. He does not speak well about Nigeria. He does not speak well about our security architecture. He does not say exactly that there's synergy between the security agencies. And so, that was why I said he had come, Mr. President has come prepared. No detail, he's not leaving anything. For whatever it is, particularly when two security agencies clash, when they are armed, both armed, it could have been bloody. It could have been bloody. Perhaps I give kudos to those who were the commanders at that time. And one respected the situation and left, not that they were weak. And then Mr. President made a statement immediately and said and corrected the situation. That is it. And then there was peace.
The issue of this interagency rivalry now that the president is also seen to be, trying to correct, on a mission to correct, that is, would it have any issue with the fact that sometimes we've seen it, over the years now, prison breaks, how that there would be alleged complicity of, members of that particular agency. Do you think these are the incidents that breed interagency rivalry, which also need to be addressed, that, agency by agency also needs to clean house among themselves and be sure that they are not trying to bring down the war from the inside?
I have been a part of those who trained security agents at a time, particularly in the north and in the south. And one of the things we teach them is synergy. Synergy. What often leads to that challenge, that quagmire, that misunderstanding is them not knowing when not to overstep their boundaries. Let me explain it with an instance. If you are coming in from Republic of Benin, talking about Lagos now, between the border point and Badagry town, you will find security agents of different agencies, numbering not less than 20. As you move on, you will find a particular agent. Let me not mention their name so that it does not look like one is bringing anyone down now. You will find agency A. Maybe you will find them at not less than 6, 7 points. You meet them at point A, you meet others, you meet that same agency again, you go again, you meet again, you go again, you meet again, you go again, you meet again. Duplication. That's more than duplication, Mike. For lack of the exact adjective to qualify that, I had challenged one at a point. I'd gotten to the border point and somebody stopped me. I was actually moving with my family, my wife and my children. And then somebody sat somewhere. Another person came to me and said, hey, I stopped. How may I be of help to you? He said, that Oga is calling you. Who is the Oga? May I know who you are? Can you please identify yourself? Can I see an identity card? an
They
identification.
were not wearing uniforms?
The person talking to me now is not a personnel, but it's one of those used in the local parlance. They call them kelebe. I said, could you please identify yourself to me and why? I said, call that man, tell him to come. He came and I said, why would you stop me? Why would you stop me? Why? And I taught him, I said, this is not your responsibility. What you just asked me for now is not within the purview of your agency. This is whom I am. This is the problem. It is not within your purview, it's within the purview of another. Apparently, the point I'm making here is that that agent had overstepped his bounds. A combination. And so, if the rightful agency that was meant to ask that question was close by, there would have been a clash. And so, in most times, first what we tell them is, you must synergize. Because the information you get has limits. You may not be the one to execute it. You pass it on. That is why, if you remember Yusuf, when Yusuf was arrested, the founder of Boko Haram, who arrested Yusuf? It was the military. The military handed Yusuf over to who? Which agency? The Nigerian police. The military does not have the power to prosecute a civilian. Even if it's their own, when they are done and they are derobed, they will hand them over to the Nigerian police.
Yeah, but then what about instances where there is deliberate concealment now of information from one agency to the other? You know, isn't that equally as formidable?
That thing you are just saying now is a crime.
I like the way you put it, it's a crime.
Isn't that equally more, an issue that we also have to,
It's an issue, but once you are gotten and arrested, you go in for it. You pay dearly for it. Because, one, you know your duties, and you know why you are working for that agency. You are not there on your own. You have your official responsibility to deliver. And so, once that is done, you pass it on. And those who are in charge, who are supposed to take it, there are information you got, you pass on. When it gets to the clearinghouse, they look at it and x-ray it. If it is not necessary to continue, it is kept aside.